All right, welcome back, guys. This is going to be part 83. Part 83 on my presentations of dinosaurs and man. And so we are going to continue on with the topic of dinosaur and human footprints found together, fossilized together. And so if you notice on the screen here, guys, we need to kind of set up this thing as far as the controversy. What's the big deal? Why is everybody making such a big deal about it? Well, this right here is the big deal. This is the whole root of the matter. You've got this right here is the geologic time scale. In the theory of evolution, this is what they use. And so if you notice right there at the very bottom there, well, about midways up, it says smaller dinosaurs right at the Triassic period. So towards the end of the Triassic period is when the smaller dinosaurs came on the scene. Now, the Jurassic and Cretaceous period is the time of the dinosaurs. That's when they were on this planet, again, by evolutionary thinking. Now, as far as the dinosaurs dying off, there's even debate amongst the evolutionists on what exactly killed them off. But traditionally, they said that a meteor struck the Yucatan Peninsula and about 65 million years ago and destroyed them, killed them off. And so there was a time of 60 to 65 million years before man started evolving, and that was 1.8 to 5.6 million years ago. I know that's a large span of time. That is, to be fair, that is the different time spans that I've been able to find. I've been able to research 1.8 to 5.6 million years ago. And so that's a long time. It's a guess. Remember, a theory is nothing more than just a guess. That's all it is. And so, but this is the reason why it's such a big deal. Because if you find out that humans and dinosaurs coexisted at the same time, then this whole chart right here is not worth anything. It's not worth the ink that it took to print it, to make it, or the time it took to put it together. And so now, I'm going to tell you right now, the only time that you're ever going to see this is right here before your eyes. And so it doesn't exist. And so it's only in textbooks. And so, but this is the reason why it's such a big deal. And so, and even amongst Christians, there are those that have a very hard time with believing that humans and dinosaurs coexisting, mainly because a lot of Christians have compromised their Bible and have added in the millions and billions of years to create the universe and the world. And they've put in ages of time, even between the days of creation. And so how they do this, guys, I don't understand. For those of you that have not seen my video on the days of creation where they're literal, just go way back at the very beginning of this video, and I've got my videos detailed, outlined on what they are, and you can go back and we'll go through it. So for time's sake, I don't want to go back through this again, but the Bible clearly shows that the days of creation were 6 24-hour periods. Now, the Paluxy River is in Texas. And this right here is just a GPS, just a map that I got off of Google. And so this is just a portion. If you take that blue line there, that curvy, swervy line there, that is the Paluxy River. What I did is I made that blue so you could see it real good. And I've got little points of interest. If you notice at the very top, you got Dinosaur Valley State Park. And we'll come back to that again. We're going to talk about that park again as far as an incident. And then below that to the left, you got Dinosaur World, which is, I guess, a museum. I don't know much about that. And then right beside of that, you got Dinosaur Valley RV Park. Now, I am an RVer. My wife and I, we do a lot of RV trips, usually in the cooler months. And but we stay just in North Carolina. But I tell you what, I wish that they weren't so far away and gas wasn't so expensive, because I would love to stay at that RV park and for a number of weeks and be able to go out there and play around in that Paluxy River. And so, and then right below that, you got the Creation Evidence Museum, and that's Dr. Carl Ball. And so he bought some land out there, opened a museum, and he does a lot of research at the Paluxy River. all types of things that he's gotten himself into, and just a really unique individual, a soldier of the faith. And I love him. I love his ministry, and he just got an incredible museum out there. I hope to one day be able to go out there and visit the museum and be able to meet him in person. But the Paluxy River, let's go through a little bit of information on the Paluxy River. The river drops an average of 17 feet per mile and is considered the second quickest river in Texas. Now, Aaron Judkins, when some of the videos I said that we were going to show about forbidden history, the footsteps in stone, Restoration Genesis Ministry that put those out, I'll be sharing I'll be sharing all their videos that they did when they were interviewing some of the key components, people that had their hands involved with this. Well, Aaron Judkins will be one of those guys. And on one of the videos, he did state that that the Paluxy River dropped 7 feet per mile in the video. Footprints in stone. I believe he just said that in error. I don't think they're contradicting their information. You got 7 and 17 feet. I've misquoted even my own slides before, and that's when I'm sitting here actually reading them, I can misquote them. And so I really believe that's all it is. But just to be fair, and just to say, yes, I do know that he does say 7 feet per mile in the video. I just believe that's just a slip of the tongue. And so because most of the material I have researched in says 17 feet per mile. And so, but anyway, just want to go ahead and give that little disclaimer there. At normal water levels, the Paluxy River flows downstream to Brazos River. From time to time, the river completely dries up. When it floods, it becomes a raging river that has flooded the town many times, damaging farms and houses each time it floods over. The scary sounds of boulders and rock shelves weighing up to several tons being washed downstream can be heard colliding and grinding and breaking as they go, so much it drowns out the sound of the rushing waters. And I can only imagine what that must be like to witness that. One of the floods was in 1908 when the river rose 27 feet. It was after this flood ripped up the ledges of limestone that the first dinosaur prints were seen after the waters had receded. Ernest Bull Adams, and he's also called Bull Adams, in 1908, at that time, had discovered the clearest man-like trail. He showed it to a number of people, including Charlie Rose. A local resident and brother of Ernest, George Adams, Glen Rose archaeologist, had admittedly carved a few human and a number of dinosaur tracks. And so when people just go to talk about, these tracks being fake and that they were carved and stuff like that, I will state that there were a number of tracks that were carved, admittedly. And we'll talk about that later, why they would do something like that. Why would they carve out those tracks? Well, it's I will say this, at that time that a number of years after this began the Great Depression. And so, but we'll talk about that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But this guy here, George Adams, did admit it. He came out and he said, yes, I did carve a few human prints and a number of dinosaur tracks. Charlie Moss gave a written statement about what he witnessed and what he saw firsthand. And this was in December 19th, 1950. He gave this statement. So I'm just going to read it verbatim and what he said. He said, "This is to certify that I, Charlie Moss of Glen Rose, Texas, saw and inspected from about 1908 to 1918 on the north bank of the Paluxy River, 6 miles north of Glen Rose, Texas, 1/4 mile west of the ford on the river, about 15 tracks or footprints of apparent giant human beings. The tracks measured about 18 inches from heel to toe, the 5 toes being plainly marked. The first few tracks were about 6 feet apart, then from 8 to 10 feet apart as the person started to run. In these prints, only the toes and the balls of the feet were in evidence. they were in an 8-inch layer of limestone along the river bank. Wonder what that individual might have been running from. Maybe the flood, mentioned in the historical biblical flood mentioned in Genesis. About 1918, a flood came on the river and excavated and carried away all the strata with the footprints. Downstream later could be seen fragments of rock slabs turned upside down in the stream. It is possible that with proper power machinery, these slabs could be turned over and new footprints found, or the bank at the bend of the river could be excavated. And again, that was a statement he gave December 19th, 1950. And so now this right here is a close-up of the Creation Evidence Museum, and you see that Paluxy River right there. Now, this place right here droughts can happen, the river can dry up for the most part, and you can just walk right across it, and on dry rock. And that right there is a picture of that. And so when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to show. And so right there where you see Paluxy River, that's a portion of it. And so Dr. Ball's museum is right there at it. And so where he could just literally just walk out the door, and there's his area to research and stuff like that. And so now as far as the layers, these are these different layers. If you notice here, these are limestone layers in the Paluxy River. And so that right there's a number of them. So when this river floods and it starts eroding some of these layers here, it can literally just break away some of these big slabs and just take them down the river. And so that right there is what you can see. So this right here is where these footprints were found in different layers. And this right here is another picture where they're out there doing some research, and it looks like Dr. Ball is about right there in the middle of the screen there with the white shirt and brown pants. That's him there. I believe that's him. And if you see that arrow right there, that arrow is pointing to different layers. And right there you can see 1, 2, 3, and of course the ground there being 4. There's 4 layers just right there. And so they're out there researching these tracks and stuff like that, excavating. And so that gentleman right there to the far right with the camera bag, he's actually standing on what evidently is the area that they have found some of these tracks at. Now, what I think was really interesting is that if you'll notice this picture right here is from a ground penetrating radar survey that was done. It was conducted at the White Sands National Park. And we're going to come to that. I've already showed you some of the human tracks that they've been able to find out there. But this right here is not an excavated picture. This right here is ground penetrating radar. This is a picture of what it saw. And so if you notice, a mammoth, human is right in the middle, just above the mammoth, and then a sloth prints above the human. Now, this is not a Christian article here. This is a secular article, and they said, yes, that is a mammoth print, a human print, and a sloth prints right there. And you can see the trail off to the left there, like it's going to the right. And so they said, yes, those are human tracks. And what I did is I asked Ian Juby about that, and I'm going to be sharing some of his videos on my Facebook page. So for my Facebook people, and again, my YouTube people, you just go to my playlist, Human and Dinosaur Tracks, and you'll go ahead and you'll see those videos. But I asked Ian about the ground penetrating radar, and he said that yes, they did consider it. They did consider doing it, and they said it's different than at the White Sands, of which the material that they're going to be doing the ground penetrating radar is different from out there at White Sands. But he said he was going to custom build a ground penetrating radar rig for exactly what they wanted to do out there. He hasn't gotten to it yet, but he said by changing the frequency of, I believe he said of the EM, I believe that's supposed to be, I guess it's electromagnetic pulses. He says you can get different resolutions, and you could even build a phased array of images where you could get a 3D image of it. And so what I think is absolutely just cool. But he says you get a coarse resolution, so you have to customize it to what you're wanting to do. Just as far as the material that it's going to be doing the penetrating in the ground. But he said they found one trail of human tracks that it actually comes to a rock ledge and stops. And so if you go, if you'll notice, notice that rock ledge that I just showed you where it has the three ledges there. That's what he's talking about. There'll be footprints that will go and they'll just stop at a rock ledge. If they was to bring up some of that overburden, they would see more tracks. And so that's what they're saying. Well, the unfortunate thing is that where these tracks are at is the backyard of a homeowner. Actually, it's his back porch, if I remember correctly. And the homeowner, undoubtedly, I completely understand. He didn't want his yard tore up, and so, especially if that's his back porch of his house, and so there's going to be some damage done to it. Offer a maybe or a guess that could be there, but he says the ground penetrating radar would be extremely helpful in that, because instead of trying to remove some of that overburden of the rocks and the ground and stuff, they could just put the ground penetrating radar over it and see what they did out at White Sands. They could see some of that. And so, but I just think that's absolutely just an incredible way that they can do research out there without actually damaging any of the ground out there. But we're going to stop right there. When we come back, we're going to continue on with some more of the back history of the Paluxy River in the area and the whole controversy with it, okay? You guys take care. I love you and hope the Lord blesses you real good. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.